Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start our printing for our printmaking project. We have been talking about pop art and how the pop artist used it to make copies. So we're going to be doing printmaking. This is the old version of copying. So what is it? It is reduction printing. Is a technique where you can carve away or remove areas from a single block or print plate. So last week we took our foam and we carved into it. So we carved away and we removed certain areas of our piece of foam so that it would leave a design on your piece of foam for us to print with. Why do we do it? Because printmaking is the oldest way to make copies of things. It is still used today to make copies of things such as t-shirts, labels, and other things that aren't made out of paper. So anything that you've seen that might have designs or logos on it, from your Coca-Cola can to your markers to anything that has something that can't be removed, like a sticker, that uses printmaking to create the look. A lot of you wear t-shirts, graphic t-shirts that have printing on them. That is done by printmaking. So we're going to watch a little video that explains printmaking here in a second, but first we're going to go over the tools. So we have 3 tools that we'll be using for this besides our paper. We're going to have a brayer, which is a roller used to apply the ink or paint to the print plate. If you've ever done painting of like walls with your parents or grandparents or family members before, you would have used something like this. Sometimes we call it a roller, but it's actually called a brayer. We're obviously going to be using the paint, which is the material that we use to make the copies of the print on the plate. And then we're going to have the print plate, which is a block of foam, wood, plastic, or linoleum, or other surface that the image is carved into. You can do printmaking with things that you find around, even your hand or your foot. If you were to put paint on it and then press down on a piece of paper, you technically just did printmaking. It's not a reduction method, but you technically just did printmaking. Anytime that you take a material and then make copies of it over and over again, you are doing printmaking. So today we're going to watch a little video here that shows us the steps of how we're going to be doing our printmaking. And once we have watched this video, you'll have time to do your printmaking before we continue on. Alright guys, today we are going to be making this right here. We're going to be making a pop art printed box using printmaking. We're going to be using our stamps that we did before. And you can see that they are flipped, they are reversed. So when I print, I'm going to be flipping it over and it's going to print reversed. Now if all of these don't turn out perfect, that is okay. Like I didn't get enough paint there. This one's probably my best one. I didn't get enough paint there. I didn't press hard enough there. I didn't press hard enough there. It's okay. Printmaking doesn't have to be perfect. So let's get started. So to start off with, you should have your print plate. We did a fall image. You can do something different than what I've done. That's okay. We have the dots in the background for a little bit of added texture. Then you're going to get 2 pieces of paper that look like this. We are turning this into a 3D box installation. So you're going to have 2 different pieces of paper. Make sure that they are different. One of them has 6 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And one of them has 2 stars. And we're going to start by writing our name and our class code on both of these papers because we're going to need them later once we are done printing them. So we're going to do 4M. Whatever your class code is, write it on the front of your paper. Okay. Now we're going to be using these papers to do our prints on. Now you will see I have all these colors over here. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. And I want you to pay close attention to where the handles of these rollers are. These rollers are called brayers. They're what we're going to be using to apply our ink. Now, none of these brayers, the handles on them, the paint is near it. This is even getting a little too close. I would like it if your handles always remain off the side of the tray or at least away from the paint, because nobody wants to work with messy tools. We're going to be using our folders as kind of like a messy mat so that you can go to each different colors. You will be able to choose whatever colors you want to do. I'm going to use all 6 colors because, as you can see, I have 6 panels, so I'm going to do 1 per color. If you only want to do 1 color or if you want to do only 2 colors, that is fine. But how you're going to start is we're going to get a little messy today. We're going to be using this guy here to put our plate on. Doesn't matter which way you put your paper or your plate. We're going to take our brayer and we're going to roll it into our paint. If you've ever painted walls before with your mom, or dad, this is very similar. We're coating the brayer with paint. If it's not fully coated, that's okay. Now, before I get started on my painting, and if you're going to set the brayer down, make sure you set it off the tray. I'm going to flip my print plate over and I'm going to draw an arrow so that I know that that way is up. Because when I flip it over, I want to be able to see which way is up. Okay, so then I take my brayer and I'm going to gently, you do not want to press hard on this, roll the brayer over top of my print plate, and I'm going in multiple directions so that I can get into all those places on my print plate, but I'm still not pressing hard. I do not want to press hard and get paint into those grooves. See how you can still see where all those grooves are? Again, when I set my brayer down, make sure the handle is off to the side of the paint. Then I take my print plate. I'm going to flip it over. Remember that arrow I have there? I know that that is going to go up. Now these are squares. You can do it any way you like. I'm going to have mine going up like this. You're going to gently pet it like a puppy. You do not want to move this print plate. You're gently rubbing and giving it a massage on the back. And when you lift it up, you will have a print. Okay? Now, if you're done with that color, you're going to take your print plate over to the sink and you're going to use your hands. You're going to use your hands to rinse that off. We do not need soap for this. Soap is not a requirement of getting the ink off. We just want to get as much of that ink off with our hands as we can, and then we will dry them off using a rag. Quick tip, it is a lot easier to clean your print plates with warm water than it is with cold water. So try and get the water as warm as you can stand it to get your print clean. So here I have my nice clean print plate. I'm going to take a rag. I'm going to gently tap it. These things are very fragile, so if you try to scrub them or are too rough with them, they will break and you're not going to have another one. So I just gently wiped it off, and then I can go into my next color. Again, I'm rolling my paint onto the brayer. Then I'm gently rolling the paint onto the print plate, going in multiple directions, barely touching the print plate. You should barely be touching it. until you have it nice and evenly covered. Then I'm going to flip it over, set it down, press it. I'm not slamming, I'm gently pressing. You can rub it like the back of a puppy, like you're petting a puppy. And when you pick it up, you have your second print. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to do that for all 6 of my colors, and I will be right back. So now I have all of my prints done. I'm going to let them dry for a couple minutes, and you guys are going to watch a little history of printmaking video while they dry, and then when we're done, we'll come back and put them together. So now it's your turn to get started. The colors will rotate around the tables, so you'll have a couple of minutes per color to do your prints. If you want to do more than one print of a certain color, that is fine, but all the colors are going to come to each table. You will stay at your tables except to wash your print plates, and remember, warm water works best. Once you are done printing all 6 sides, sit quietly and wait for everyone else to finish, and we will watch a short video while your prints dry. So now it's time to pause this video and get started on your printing. Have fun, and I'll see you in a couple minutes. So now that you have had time to print, and we're going to let it dry a little bit, we're going to watch the rest of this video. We're going to learn about the history of printmaking and how to put our box together. Once this video is done, you can start working on your box. If you don't get it done, that is okay. We will finish it up.
Okay, this is Mrs. Wallace, and today we're going to be talking about the history of printmaking and how printmaking has changed the world. Can you think of an example of printmaking? I bet you can. Printmaking is all around us. You can see money is printed, comic strips, magazines, and books, but the clothes that you wear and the tags that are printed, even the food that we eat, all the packages and everything that's in the stores are all printed. Our world is consumed with printmaking. And printmaking has been around forever. Here you see, even cavemen did prints. They actually did stencils, and they blew powdered rock pigment on top of the caves. And the Sumerians in 500 BC made their very first imprint from a carved little tube. Printmaking originated in China after paper was invented around 105 AD, and this is a woodblock. And they used this technique for many thousands of years, and then later in 1040 AD, they discovered how to move that around into the first movable type. The earliest books were rolls of paper on animal skin called scrolls. Books have been made for thousands of years. The first printed book was made in Korea in 1377. A German machine maker named Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press in 1455. He was very motivated to make some money, and he was able to print and sell the first Bible in Europe, and this allowed the average person to own and read their own book. It was an exciting time of new ideas, and this was called the Renaissance. And during the Renaissance, artists were inspired to use the printing press to make prints so that everybody could have art in their own homes. Rembrandt and Albert Dürer were some of the first artists and printmakers of their time. They illustrated books, and they made prints of some of their paintings that other people couldn't afford. Japanese woodblock prints were popular from 1603 to 1868. Japanese masters such as Hiroshi, Hokusai, and Utamaro inspired modern art. And you can see there's so many colors on these, and every single color was carved in a different block of wood. So some of these had, up to like 8 different blocks of wood. They were intricate, they were tedious, but they were carefully crafted and designed to have really beautiful compositions. And this is what really inspired modern artists like Van Gogh, who loved their intense colors and their dramatic angles, cut off edges, and close ups. They had bold lines and beautiful colors, and Van Gogh collected these prints for himself, and he even painted himself in front of his collection of prints. And later on in 1796, they developed what was called lithography, which is where you take a grease pencil and you draw on a surface of stone. And you were able to make multiple prints that were cheaper and faster, and were able to make more of them. So Toulouse-Lautrec popularized this method in Europe and also inspired Art Nouveau styles of artists to make posters as well. This was the very beginning of graphic design. And later, lithography became commercialized, and it turned into mass-produced reproductions like comic strips and magazines. This was, really what you see today. Printmaking has made it easier for artists to express their art to more audiences. Here you can see that the music label covers and skateboard designers use print, and fabric designs like artists such as Claire Birch and even Andy Warhol used prints to reproduce and duplicate images than from having to do them from scratch with his pop art. A variety of multiple materials and surfaces have been made, and the possibilities are really endless. Printmaking is so much fun, and I hope that you enjoy trying to make a print today. And there's many methods that are here on this lesson, and I hope that you have fun trying one of them. Take care.
Okay, so now that we know a little bit about printmaking and the history behind it, and we've given our prints a little bit of time to dry, we're going to watch how we are going to put these together to make our box. Okay, now that they're dry a little bit, it's okay if they're still a little bit wet. You're just going to have to be a little bit more careful. So the steps are right here on our paper. So it says print on your paper inside the squares. Did that. Cut on the solid line. So all these solid lines around the edge here, I'm going to cut. If it's not perfect, that's okay. Just do your very best. Do not cut on the dotted line. So these inside squares here, this inside square here, and these inside squares over here, do not cut on the dotted lines. We're going to use those to fold with. And if your paint is still a little bit wet, you can use the tabs over here to hold it so that you don't accidentally get your paint on yourself. Now before I go any further, I'm going to write my name again on the bottom of one of these. I don't care which one you write your name on. I'm going to choose this purple one because purple is my favorite color. So I'm going to write Laura and then my class code again, just so that when we have these done, we can find them. You only have to write it on one of these. These scrap papers I can throw in the recycling. Now on these dotted edge, we are going to fold. We're going to fold down on the dotted edge. So if I flip my paper over and fold down on these dotted edges, again, if it's not perfect, that's okay. Oh, you can see my paint is still a little wet. Transferred onto my folder. That's okay. Didn't hurt my print at all. So I folded those tabs down. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to fold on these dotted lines. My box is starting to form. Take this one, do the same thing. Fold on the dotted lines. Now to assemble our box, we're going to put a tiny dot of glue on one star, and we're going to take the edge, the open edge of our second piece of paper, and we're going to glue that edge onto the star. This is the tricky part. You have to hold and count for 30. I'm going to fast forward through this. If you don't count to 30, it won't stay. Okay. Then I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to put another dot of glue on that other star on the other side. And again, I'm going to count to 30. That's the hardest part of putting your box together. Now for the easier stuff. We're going to lift this piece up, and we're going to put a dot of glue on this star, on this star, and on this star. Then we're going to flip our box over and kind of line it up and hold down for 30. Then we're going to lift up this. We're going to flip that back just like that. We'll put 3 dots of glue here. Hold down for 30. Now we only need tiny dots of glue. If we find that it's not sticking together later, we can always use some tape. But for right now, I want you to try and use the glue to keep it all together. See, this side isn't sticking. I can put maybe 1 or 2 more dots of glue. Again, I don't need a lot. Just enough so that it'll stay. And there I have my finished pop art box. Again, if these are coming apart, we can glue them later. But for right now, I just want you guys to try the glue. Make sure your name is on one of the sides. And you did a printed pop art box. Hope you had fun. Okay, and now our printmaking should be mostly 100% dry. If it's not completely dry, that's okay. Just be more careful. You can go ahead and assemble your box. And if you get done with it, you're going to put it in your bin. If you don't get done with it, we're still going to put them in the bin, but we're going to be a little bit more careful with them. Okay? I hope you have fun, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.